Hello, Robin here. Welcome to my studio. Today we're going to make these fabulous, adorable shadow box cards. We're going to make the one with the little animals. You're going to need two pieces of cardstock, cut the size of a regular card, so you're going to need soft seafoam and Whisper White. We're going to cut each of these pieces of cardstock in half, so we're going to cut them hamburger style at the 5.5. So now our card base is 5.5 by 8.5. You just need one of those. And then we're going to do the same thing with our Whisper White. We're going to cut it in half at 5.5, so it'll be 5.5 by 8.5. And that'll be the inside of our card. And then we're going to score. So you want to use your scoring blade. Now, on the soft seafoam, that's the outside of the card, so we're going to score it how we would score a normal card. We're going to score that at 4.25. And that's what you would normally do with your average, ordinary, everyday card. But this isn't going to be average, ordinary, or everyday. Okay, and then on our Whisper White cardstock, we're going to score 1/2 inch. And I like to use the left side of my scoring tool. It's just a little easier when you have little short measurements. And we'll score that at 1/2 inch. Then we're going to flip that over to the right because our next score line is going to be at 4.25. Which is also dead center, or the way that you would normally score. So we have 1/2 inch, 4.25, and then we're going to go to 4.75. So you should have 3 lines: 1/2 inch, 4.25, and 4.75. Now we're going to cut our little window. And I'm going to cut that on my white piece. You want to cut between the 1/2 inch line and the 4.25 inch line. I'm going to use my layering oval dies. I'm going to use the 2 largest dies today. To cut the white piece, I'm going to use the 2nd largest. And you're going to want to put your platform down, your, I don't know what you call this, your little adapter. And then you want to place a cutting pad and your cardstock. You want to place your die, your oval die, between the 1/2 inch and the 4.25. You want to make sure to put the rough side down and then put your other cutting pad on. And we're going to run that through our Big Shot. Make sure that you save the cutout piece or the oval. We're going to use that on the front of our card. Now we're going to use the larger oval and cut another oval from Tranquil Tide cardstock. It's going to give us a little mat to outline that oval on the front of our card. So the oval on the outside sort of mimics the oval on the inside. Next, we're going to stamp our images, and we're going to use Tuxedo Black Memento ink because we're going to be using Stampin' Blends, which are alcohol based. And we're going to do all our inside elements. We're going to use the Tropical Chick stamp set. We're going to stamp the foliage and the You're the Greatest in the flower. And then we're going to use the Animal Outing stamp set to stamp the rhino and the Thank You Big Time and the giraffe. On the oval, I'm going to stamp Thank You Big Time and my little giraffe. And then we're going to start stamping our other cutout images. Here's our rhino. Then I'm going to use Tranquil Tide ink to stamp a couple of my bigger foliage. And then I'm going to use Shaded Spruce. It's just a little bit different so that they don't look exactly the same. And I'm going to stamp 3 of this other foliage. And then we're going to use Mango Melody and Flirty Flamingo inks. We're going to ink up our flower with the Mango Melody ink. And then to add a little pizzazz, I'm going to use my Flirty Flamingo and a sponge dauber, and then I'm going to put Flirty Flamingo ink around the edge of the flower. It's going to give it a lovely contrast. That pretty orangey yellow with the pink just looks fabulous, very tropical. So you want to do that 6 times. Do your flowers. See how they look? Great. Now I gave extra dimension to my flowers. I'm going to use my Stampin' Blends. I'm going to use my Mint Macaron, and I'm going to just color over the bigger ones. I'm just sort of scribbling in. It just gives it sort of 2 tones. And then on the smaller ones, I'm going to use the darker of my soft seafoam. And we'll color over those. Terrific. Okay, now we're going to work on the front of our card. Well, the inside of the card. We're going to stamp "You're the Greatest" with Tranquil Tide ink. And we're going to color our hippo. I'm going to use 3 colors. We're going to color the beak Mango Melody. I'm going to use just a little fine tip because it's such a small area. And then I'm going to use the Bermuda Bay to color his feathers. And again, I'm using the fine tip because it's just so teeny. And one of my favorite new greens is the Granny Apple Green for the body. What great contrasting bright colors. Oops, forgot those little feathers on top. Then we're going to color the tusk. We're going to use Pool Party and the Color Lifter to do this tusk. We're going to take our Pool Party, we're going to use the brush tip and we're just going to color along one side. And then we're going to blend it out with our Color Lifter so that it's pretty faint, but it looks better than just flat white. Now we're going to use our Pool Party and our Flirty Flamingo, the lightest colors, and we're going to give some little light spots. I got this idea, I was looking at pictures in the kids' book, and I thought, wow, they're not flat gray, they have extra color in there. I was looking at the illustrations in a Bill Peet book. Now we're going to add the Smoky Slate, and you just want to lay down some color. Don't worry about being perfect right now. You just sort of want to get some color in there because we're going to go back and blend. Now you want to use your darker Smoky Slate and start hitting the darker areas where you think there would be shading. So the drawing itself has some obvious shaded areas, like on his forehead, along the side there, on the other side. And definitely you're going to have shadows under his chin. I have some down there on his feet. And then you go anywhere there's lines or shadows, places that it looks darker or shaded, and go with a darker pen. Now he still looks a little sloppy. We're going to go back and blend with the lighter of the Smoky Slate, and it's just going to pull it all together. So what looks sort of sloppy and haphazard now looks really terrific. Now to color the giraffe, I'm going to use Soft Suede. We'll color his little things on top and a few of the spots. You don't need to go all the way down his neck because most of that's going to be covered with other card elements. And then we're going to use our Mango Melody, the darker color, and we're just going to start adding some darker shades to parts of our giraffe. And then we're going to blend it with our Pineapple Punch. I'm using the, I think I was using the darker one of those. Yeah. And you just blend that Mango Melody and the Pineapple Punch. And we'll layer it on our oval. And we're going to start cutting our pieces. Make sure you put the rough side down. And tape it in place with repositionable tape. And run that through your Big Shot. We're also going to do some little ferny pieces with a soft sea foam. You could cut that, you could pierce those out with your piercer. Then we're going to randomly stamp the soft seafoam ink onto our card front. It's just random, just to fill in along the front a little bit. So that looks pretty great. We'll be able to put that on there. Now this is important. We're going to need to cut a 1/2 inch. Again, you can use that left side if you want to. We're going to cut off a 1/2 inch off of the back of our card base. So the back side is actually a 1/2 inch shorter. Now this is super, super duper important if you want your card to lay flat. It seems like a small thing, but trust me, I know it won't work if you don't do this. You need to cut just a little sliver off the end that's not scored. Otherwise, it sort of buckles when you fold it over. Now, the dies that go with the tropical cheek, the tropical dies, we're going to use those to cut out the foliage. And then we're going to use the hippopotamus die from the Animal Outings to cut our hippo. Now you want to fold along the score lines. We're going to work on our little box for our shadow box. Fold those. It forms a little bit of a box. This is going to be important. You want to make sure that your little 1/2 inch piece of your box is pointing towards the center of your card. I'll explain more in my bloopers here in a little bit. Then you can begin placing your foliage on. You'll notice that the oval on the front really complements the oval on the inside. It's a good carryover. Begin putting your pieces on. You can arrange them however you want. So fun to made all your elements, and I'm just putting them on with adhesive and laying them flat so it'll lay really nice in my envelope. Now again, you want to put that 1/2 inch, you want to make sure that that 1/2 inch side is pointing towards your center line. I know from experience that that's important, and we'll put a little multi-purpose adhesive on our little ferns. You want to place them up just a little bit because at the bottom of the oval you're going to have your hippo and some of your other elements overlapping that oval, so you put them up just a little bit. Now when you put on your hippo, he's going to be overlapping that window, so you don't want him to stick when it's laying flat, so just put a little adhesive towards the bottom of your hippo. And same thing here, when you put on your foliage, you just want to go over to the one side, not the side that's going to overlap the oval. You don't want any of your elements overlapping the cardstock there, otherwise it won't fit in your envelope. So just try to keep everything sort of lined up. We'll put a little adhesive on the top of this flower because the rest of it's going to overlap a little bit. And see how quick these are to put together. We're going to put some adhesive on the opposite side on this one. You don't want to go past that score line, otherwise it's going to be in your fold. And the last couple of cards. Isn't it looking great? Who would expect this on the inside of your card? Now we're ready to put it together. I'm going to use some tear and tape because it's a little bit stronger adhesive and we want everything to stay in place. I'm putting this along in my 1/2 inch area, and then I'm also going to put a piece on the other side of my 4 3/4 and along the edge of my card. You'll have a piece. So we'll pull off the 1/2 inch piece first. And then we're going to line that up with the inside crease or the inside fold line of our card. and then just fold it over. Yay! Okay, peel off your tape again so it'll stick. Flip it over. You want to lay that flat and then fold over your back piece. This is where it was really important to cut off that sliver, otherwise that piece would buckle. Look at how great it looks. And you can see, because I didn't add any pop-ups or anything, it fits fabulously in the envelope. The postman will love you. Now about those bloopers. Remember I told you it was important to have the 1/2 inch side pointing left? Well, this one is pointing right. You guessed it. Well, I have a solution. Make a left-hand opening card for all the lefties of your family and friends. I intend to give this to my son, and I will not tell him it's a blooper. You want to put it together the same way that you did the other card. So there you go. If you do make a mistake and put your 1/2 inch on the wrong side, on the right side, you can make a left-handed card. Isn't that fun? Have a fabulous day. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel.